Hey, hi there. Welcome back to the KISST series. In this series, we are speaking to educators who work with historically marginalized students, especially Black and Brown students, especially Black and Hispanic students. So far in this series, we have discussed a 5-part reusable instructional model that includes the do now, the mini lesson, the independent of you student work time, a summary or wrap up of the lesson, and then an exit ticket to collect data to ensure that your students have met the learning objective of the day, i.e. students will be able to blank by the end of this lesson by doing blank. We've also discussed how important it is that we as educators do the work before we assign it to our students. So doing the work includes doing whatever it is you're going to assign for the do now. You want to do that work yourself ahead of time. Doing whatever examples you're going to include in your 5 to 7 minute mini lesson. Excuse my assistant, she's rearranging some furniture. Making sure that the work that you're going to give your students for that independent of you work time, which is usually about 15 to 20 minutes, making sure that you have completed that work. Any exit ticket or any kind of assessment, test, quiz, small project, you want to make sure that you are doing this work ahead of time because you don't want any surprises and you don't want your students to be surprised either. That is, you want to know exactly what it is that students need in order to be successful. And then in your mini lesson, you're going to give your students those tools. Okay? You want to make sure that students have what they need to be successful. Well, in today's lesson, we are going to discuss this concept of assigning and teaching grade level. Let's see how this goes when I look back at the video. In this video today, we are going to discuss how and why it is so important to provide grade level, standards aligned content to our students, especially our students who we perceive to be low level learners, right? We want to make sure that we are not succumbing to the pernicious myth that students who are perceived to be low-level learners are in need of grade level work that is below them in order to be successful. Because this actually creates larger gaps that are hard to close when at the end of the school year, students are going to be assessed on grade level content, not on the content that they might have been given to ensure that they could do the work independent of the teacher or with very little struggle. So how do we do this? Well, because we have already done the work before assigning it to students, we have built into our mini lesson the tools that they are going to need to be successful. Because we have already done the work ahead of time, we are going to be prepared to support those students, i.e. Scaffold for those students who we know are going to need. Because we have already done the work ahead of time, we are going to be able to scaffold for those handful of students who might need a small group to work one-on-one with you, while the rest of the class who is working independent of you continues on with that assignment independent of you. Because you have already done the work ahead of time, you have already prepared an extension assignment. Maybe it's those more challenging problems that are found at the end of, let's say, a set of math problems. Or in history, maybe it's that you want your students to make a current events connection to a history lesson. Or maybe in English language arts, you're asking students to write a text-to-text, text-to-self, or text-to-world reflection, additional paragraph, what have you. In science, you might ask students to make a STEAM connection that they can apply to their real-world context, whether it's their home life, their community, or a larger context, the world. So you want to differentiate and be ready to differentiate by doing the work ahead of time. Okay, so this is an extension of last week's video. Doing the work ahead of time really allows you that flexibility to make sure that all of your learners are served. And because this is the KISST channel, remember, we're keeping it simple. So we are not creating different lessons for each of your different types of learners in your classroom. Instead, we are giving everyone this grade level standards aligned content. The majority of the class is going to be able to work through it independent of you. A handful of students are going to need you for frequent check-ins, clarifying directions, or sitting with you to review. And then another handful of students are going to be your students who are going to complete the work ahead of time and early, right? And they're going to need to have that extension assignment ready to go, which you might have already told them, right? As you're circulating around, because students are working independent of you. So I hope this is helpful, but if you would, in the comments section, drop your examples or ideas of how you differentiate instruction for your learners, because you're providing that standards aligned grade level content to your students, and we probably have a heterogeneous class of learners. What are your ideas for differentiating instructions to make sure that all of your learners have access, and those who need the extra challenge get that, and those who need the extra support get that extra support? If you're finding this video helpful, please go ahead and please go ahead and subscribe, and make sure to hit that notification bell so that you're notified when the next video comes out in this series. Also, if you have found this video to be useful and informative, please go ahead and share it with a hardworking teacher friend of yours. Thank you so much for tuning in to the KISST series. I'm Dr. Ogaro, and I will see you in the future. Later, super teachers.